right back, Charlie.
Still in the foot.
Because you always use that.
Active red light, defending.
I think it's like. Because you always use that.
Active red light, defending.
I think it's like. Because you always use that.
Active red light, defending.
I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Man. Come on. Thank you very much for that, Ian Wright. Just as the big man himself said, people deluded, I'm back again. First things first, good afternoon to those of you in the United Kingdom. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night, dependent on where you lot are in this world. As usual, appreciative of you lot tuned in on YouTube. Make sure you're liking, you're commenting, and you're subscribing, and you're turning on your notification bells, because there's always videos. And if you're on Twitch, make sure you're subscribing with Amazon Prime and messing up my lines here, people. And also commenting, people. I'm very appreciative to have you lot tuned in. Now, allegedly, Jesus has been called up for Brazil, and NKETIAH has missed out on training. There's concerns around Odegaard. The long-lasting injury talking points we've spoken about, or you lot have seen, are still lasting. And we've got Sevilla tomorrow, people. Again, we'll be doing a watch-along for that. I'll be live an hour before kickoff. So, yeah, man. After this, actually, shameless plug, we're watching Dortmund, Newcastle, and then we're watching Paris Saint-Germain, AC Milan. So, you know, I'm here for a long time across YouTube and Twitch. Big up yourselves, but, you know, we have to move quickly, people. Trossard has to start up front. We've got nothing else, really and truly. You know, we're down to our bare bones, and this is what we know, where other players are injured, other players are going to be running to the ground. And to be fair to these players, if you played good, you deserve your praise. If you've played bad, constructive criticism. But you just never know the status on footballers. As Mikel Arteta has said, especially where we find ourselves in the season at the moment, if there's a single player, if not necessarily injured or not carrying a knock, or they could be in better form, or, you know, their body could do with less aches and pains, I'd tell you they're a liar if they're playing Premier League football, especially for the top 6 sides where you've got every competition. And as you've seen with Arsenal, we had a relative clean run with injuries last season. Obviously, it cost us at the end. But since the start of this season, we've dealt with injuries. Obviously, Timber's the long-term absentee. And, you know, where you look at him, we could have dealt with you in 1v1 situations at numerous times throughout the season. Shout out to Tomiyasu and Zinchenko. But in relation to Trossard versus Havertz, I don't think there's anything else. I feel on one hand, I'm with the Trossard thing. But do you know what? I might go with Kai Havertz, you know. And obviously, I'd rather see Trossard. Trossard's a better player for me at this moment. He showed more things in an Arsenal shirt. I'm for it. But at least Havertz, as you've seen against Chelsea, against City, and against Sevilla. Yeah, Sevilla, actually, where Raya's gone long. You know, Havertz provides us with that sort of angle, really and truly. And to be honest, Trossard is more likely to impact the game off the bench, really and truly, if I'm honest with you. Not that Havertz hasn't had those cameos. So I'm a bit, it's the lesser of two evils. You know, with Trossard, it's just not your position. You can do a job there. And obviously, you know, you can play across the front four, but it probably is dependent. And when you look at Sergio Ramos, that's why I would have went with Eddie NKETIAH through the middle, because you are a traditional striker. I might lean towards Havertz, really, but there was obviously Havertz. There's obviously Martinelli. I very much doubt a young player is going to randomly get an opportunity to start and play in the game. On ability and what I feel initially, without getting into the nuts and bolts of football, I'd go with Trossard. I probably would start Kai Havertz. But then again, with Odegaard's absence, who plays in midfield? Smith Rowe's out for a month. Allegedly, Partey, we know, is gone. We need to wrap El Nene and Jorginho up in cotton wool. As you know, El Nene, for the last year, hasn't really played significant football. Is it worth putting him in against the Sevilla side that has a European pedigree at a turbulent time where Arsenal are concerned? Because although we beat them, it hasn't been a good start to the month. And, you know, again, it would have been a dark place if we lost away from home against Sevilla, but it's almost like one step forward, 2 steps back. So who do you really go with, actually? It's a very interesting one. And one of the moments I'm happy I'm not Mikel Arteta. I don't think he'll go for Martinelli there. He could go for Trossard, but I don't think he'll do it. I think it'll be Kai Havertz. But again, who is in midfield? Like, no Smith Rowe. I mean, you'd inclined to believe it's probably, if Havertz goes up front, then to be honest, it should be Trossard in the 10, Declan Rice and Jorginho, although you could probably see Fabio Vieira brought in that regards. Yeah, Odegaard injury caused, I was feeling Havertz initially. Big up yourself, Dermot and Josh as well. Appreciate the Twitch ones, man. You're always supporting the movement. But yeah, let's crack on and see everything that we've got to speak about. First, let's start with the semi-boring part, which is every word from Mikel Arteta's pre-Sevilla presser, people. As you know, the bulk of this actually probably isn't going to be about the Champions League or what we could or couldn't do. There's probably gonna be a healthy chunk of, Mikel Arteta's probably public enemy number one. And I don't think, he's ever been on the headline of sports newspapers and magazines as much as obviously this last couple of days, really. So yeah, man, if I was him, I'll go buy all of these newspapers, if I was honest with you, and I'd store them up, really, because how many people can say they're on the front of the newspaper? Early team news, we know Gabriel Jesus won't be fit. With Martin, it's still uncertain. The rest, no news so far. On that as well, people, and we're kind of jumping ahead. The Norwegian boss, of course, he's kind of at the mercy of Arsenal to drip feed how the player is feeling. And we all know a lot, it's never a dead rubber representing your country, but it's a dead rubber. But the Norwegian boss on Odegaard has said, we are worried about Martin. He's very doubtful. He has an injury that doesn't seem to let go. We'll have to see what happens this week. He'll be examined even more. Then we'll see what it brings in terms of matches and playing time. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus has been called up into the Brazilian squad. Is that a clue as to whether, he's going to be fitter sooner rather than later? Edu's previously worked at the Brazilian FA. Obviously, he's Brazilian and he's obviously got the position he's in at Arsenal. Have they been liaising with him? Does Arsenal actually want you to go off? Because does it really make sense, really, you going off with Brazil at this moment? I can't say the same for his City days, but it seems like we have to wrap Gabriel Jesus up in cotton wool. With Odegaard, could it be a thing where you miss out this week, you miss out next week because obviously it's the international break, and then what other games we have, after Sevilla and Burnley, you're back? I don't know, but he said he's very doubtful, and there'll be more examining. So maybe Arsenal are playing a bit coy and whatnot. I'm sure Odegaard wants to represent Arsenal, being our captain, and I'm sure he wants to represent his country. So we'll have to see. But we knew with Jesus, it's not a thing like that. Are we jumping the gun a bit? In fact, just keeping it going, people, in theme with the injuries. NKETIAH nursing knock, misses training ahead of Arsenal Sevilla. Now, could he just have not taken part in training because he's doing rehab and then he could play tomorrow? Or is he a doubt for the Sevilla game and the Burnley game? Or is he a doubt for obviously tomorrow night and you can obviously play against Burnley? I don't know whether you rate NKETIAH or not. We can't afford any injuries, people. You look at, it's definitely lovely to see Spurs not win and lose their unbeaten thing, but on top of suspensions now, Van der Veen, who's been a revelation at centre-half in the Premier League and for Spurs, he's injured. United have been nursing injuries as well. Chelsea haven't had a great time, and neither have we had since the start of the season. So we need every player fit, in my opinion. But Eddie Nketiah missed training ahead of Arsenal's Champions League game with Sevilla on Wednesday. The England international pushing it a bit, but is nursing a knock picked up during the 1-0 defeat at Newcastle United on Saturday and will be subject to a late assessment. Martin Odegaard is also missing, with Gabriel Jesus already ruled out. So, whether you rate Eddie or not, these are key players and regular performers under Mikel Arteta. To have them out, it doesn't help us. On what he said after the game at Newcastle, it's my duty to stand in front of you and to stand in front of the cameras and give a very clear and honest assessment on what happens in the game. This is what I did, reflect very openly how I felt that the team played and how the game was conditioned by this result with the decisions that were made. It's my duty. My duty is defending my players, supporting my club, defending my people in the best possible way. And this is what I'm going to do time after time. I do feel the way I feel with the evidence and being as clear as possible. I'll always do it. When we play brilliantly, to say that when we have lost, to take my responsibility, the first one me to do it is the way that I am, and I have to defend my club. On if he's angry about such decisions, some things don't happen overnight. When it was that clear and I had all the evidence of the words that I used in the media, it's because I feel strongly about them. One thing is what I say externally, but internally to my players, it's about how we can play better, which could have been to create chances. Smash the like button and don't forget to get your thoughts in, people. How we can be more dominant, how we can do the game the way we want to, give no chance to the opponent. One thing is my duty towards you guys, then my duty is to coach, to do what we have to do. This is exactly what I've done. Nothing special, nothing different, and I would do it, and the club would do it again and again until this is right. Until this is right, we have to be better on the pitch and win more football games. That's it. on why he thinks the goal should have been disallowed. Now we talk about Sevilla and the beautiful game that we have to play tomorrow. I mean, we can't go back in time. We'll probably get an apology, but there's no point focusing on that. Rightly so, Gaffer. And I must admit, the more the media get on to Mikel Arteta, the more I want to stand with him, if I'm honest. The moment you have a chance in football to put it to bed, do it. I wish we took heed of that in every game we've played. You know, we have to do a lot of things right tomorrow to earn the right to win it, and against a really good team with enormous experience in this competition. We have to prove it tomorrow in front of our people how excited we are to play that game and what it means to us. He said, I stand for the same words that mistakes are part of football in any other way. And we are here to constructively improve the game in everything that we can. And this is what we've been doing as a club, me, the individual, with my duty as a manager in the managers' meetings to give our opinion, our voices, and to raise it in the most constructive ways together and create a better game. That's all. That's the only thing we are looking at collectively to achieve for everyone. On how VAR impacts his behaviours on the sidelines. I mean, certain men that are media darlings and seem to be twerking for the media got booked yesterday. I know Arteta's been booked before. He didn't get booked in the game he was moaning about, was he? But it is what it is. Sorry, mate. There is the answer. Your colleague has mentioned how emotional I was after the game and how I acted on the touchline. I mean, how can the manager not be emotional when, let alone the result, adrenaline's pumping? The same goes for both players and both sets of coaching staff on Saturday as well. And the fans, but fair enough, silly question. And how I acted on the touchline, I didn't get a yellow, I didn't get a warning from the referee, so I stayed focused on the game, trying to affect the game in the best possible way for my players. That's it. On Martin's injury situation and the impact on being called up for Norway, Martin loves to play for his country, and every time that he's been called up and been fit, he's been there, and he will be there if that's the case. So there might be a bit of optimism surrounding Martin Odegaard's fitness. On why he came on against West Ham but didn't play at the weekend, could there have been a setback? It's no relation with what we had and what happened the day before the game against Newcastle. They are two different topics and things. So maybe there was something in his private life. I don't know. Maybe there's a different complete injury. Maybe it wasn't worth taking the risk, really. But yeah, man, this just shows why you need a squad. Our squad is being tested at its limits. On Sevilla, he said, especially the performance of the team and watching back the two games that we watched last year when we won 2-0 and the one that we lost 1-0, we were much better 3 days ago than we were a year ago. Much better. And we deserve more in that game. But that's the beauty of this game. So we have to build a lot of things that we did right against Newcastle, improve things, especially in the final third. I love that, Arteta, because that was the only thing of significance. I like the fight. I like the defensiveness. I liked how we actually approached the Newcastle game, because I thought we would be like, if it was a boxing match and, you know, the ring is St. James's Park, I thought we would have kicked off on the back foot, taking a lot of punches. I felt we took the game to them, but they're the only positives. Ultimately, Nick Pope didn't have anything to do. You know, there's plenty of different managers, different countries and different philosophies and all these things across the leagues. The one beautiful thing about football, you need to put the ball in your opponent's net if you want to win titles or achieve whatever a team has set out. You know, that's the end of it, really and truly. Obviously, Arteta is going to gas it up a bit and say we was better a year ago and I defend my players and stuff. Arteta strikes me as a man that he won't deny the obvious, but he's reluctant to get onto his players publicly. He'd probably do it in private, probably what we see in the All or Nothing. So I did like that comment about the final third, to be more of a threat. But for the rest, the way the team played, the way we competed, it was extraordinary. Gassing it a bit, Gaffer. But on the reaction to our club statement, again, if you haven't seen that, Arsenal released a statement, you know, backing Mikel Arteta and condemning PGMOL and the inconsistencies. And apparently some reports say we've actually, sorry, my eye there, apologies, sent out a list, people, and whatnot, people. Again, we have a duty to express how we feel with all the evidence that we have and the history of what happened. I think we have to really stand up for our people, our values, and who we are. And when the club has done it, it's done in very specific moments with the right reasons, and it shows the unity and understanding that's within the club to position ourselves in a really clear and honest way. That's our duty as a club. Fair enough, Gaffer. I don't think we can have anything to say. He said, I think that the support that we have given to everyone, and I will continue to do that, that's not going to change. I'm going to be there. If I have to talk to anyone, I'll be in any meeting trying to reinforce everything. We all want the same, but we have to understand that it has to be there. And if you guys and everyone in football wants us to be there, we have to give our opinion, and we have to hear our opinion in an honest way and clear. Don't talk about other things. Be clear and very honest, very respectful, but very clear and honest, and value what we have and make sure that we continue evolving the game the way we want. That's it. On errors, he said errors are a part of an evolution, which from a footballing point of view, we've seen that since you walked in, Gaffer. the trajectory is never going to be like this. There are always bumps along the road, and maybe these things are very necessary to happen to improve the game in the right way. That's it. But we have to talk loudly. We have a problem. Let's talk about this. Let's try to improve in a very constructive way. That's it. That's what we're trying to do, and nothing else. He then went on to say how we've played in Europe this season. Obviously, we've had two very good games. The one against Lens, especially in the second half, we struggled in the first 10, 25 minutes of the second half. But overall, the way the team has not only performed, but I think the presence of the team, the maturity they have shown in big games like this has been really good. But it's about doing it consistently. And tomorrow we're going to have to do a lot of those things very, very well. He then bigged up Jorginho and said, well, hopefully the same that all the managers that have played him. He's an incredible player. He's a leader. He's a very intelligent player for us. And he has the quality to make the team better. That's it. They asked him and doubled down lastly on referee, and people said, I think I've defended many, many situations. And the last thing you have ever heard from me in a press conference is an excuse to talk about the result. It's nothing to do about it. It's first of all, look inside our house at all the things we can do better. And then we look externally. Is there anything that can affect what we are actually doing? But first, you have to look inside at yourself. And I'm the first to look in the mirror. I don't have any disagreements with what the manager has said there, people. Apparently, Keith Hackett, who's a former referee, has said, people, I was aware of two people receiving a phone call and being instructed to toe the line and to quiet down on criticism of match officials. Is it any surprise that it might be Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, the two people who control the media space in terms of Sky Sports, and their opinions are not more important than our fans, but they're echoed? I don't know, people. For what it's worth, once again, Arsenal at war with referees as fuming club compile list of decisions that have gone against them, including Kovacic avoiding a red card at the Emirates. I mean, Kovacic and Bruno Guimaraes, you know, if Bruno's not given a straight red for that stupidness on Jorginho, he's picked up about 50 yellow cards. For Kovacic, I don't know. But I would say whether you're an Arsenal fan, Newcastle fan, City fan, whatever, consistency, because these moments will happen in other games. Dons will get sent off. Just like a couple of, you know, the Newcastle goal, whether it stood or not is irrelevant. It has now. That won't be given in another game. The Saliba penalty won't be given in another game. And there's probably, you know, we've been given things that maybe were harsher on other teams as well. So they just need to fix up. But as I've said before, you know, you look at the money in the game, you got the best coaches, allegedly, the best players, allegedly, the best physios, all these things, you know, great stadiums, you know, TV rights, naming rights, whole heap of branding deals. You know, everybody's eating from the players all the way up to the owners and the fat cats you never see, people. With all of that being said, do we really think that the standard of refereeing is a coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences. Managers can't leave things to coincidences. Players can't. You know, they can't believe it. Do we really believe this? If it, you know, if it hasn't been purposely made like this, because controversy, nothing sells faster in life than controversy. And unfortunately, football is a business and it is an entertainment package. I don't know, people, but that's my thoughts anyways. Apparently, there's friction between the club and the refereeing body. Ooh, scary referees. So, yeah, apparently we've compiled a list, people. I covered this in a video that should have come out at about 2 p.m. So go and look at that, people. Obviously, we're pointing towards Brentford in February. I think we could point back towards Newcastle in January of last year. Personally, Martinelli's goal disallowed against Man United, which if that's disallowed, then I don't know why Gabriel's foul from Joe Linton isn't. But I just want consistency. I don't think Gordon was offside. I do think it would have been a soft foul. I did think the ball went out. If they're saying the ball didn't go out, fair enough. But I think the strongest case was a foul. And it's more time how VAR is implemented. 1 minute you're drawing lines, then you're not. Then you know, there's not enough evidence to suggest to the referee to take some active steps. It's absolutely crazy, people. So, yeah, you know, Arsenal being gaslighted, really. Let's be honest. I do think our fans, and including myself, were a bit like the boys and girls who cry wolf. We're always screaming about everything with referees, like everyone. But there is a legitimate agenda against Arsenal. And it's whatever it is in the present day at this moment in time. You know, when other managers came to this country, whether you like Mikel Arteta or not, they were praised for their jumping up and down on the sidelines and all those antics. Mikel Arteta is crucified and demonized for such people. You know, they said Arsenal lacked passion and we lack fight. We start doing this, there's issues, you know, and there is double standards. I'm sure every fan would say this about their club, but there genuinely is double standards. And you go back to, we've always been judged harshly by refs. Look how our invincible run ended. And I find it very mad Gary Neville's coming out and acting like a savior. But when you focus on the Emirates era, when we had the more small technical players, or if they were tall, they weren't really typical English players flying into tackles, moving mad, etc., we were labelled soft. And how many players did we see receive crazy injuries because of that? Eduardo, Diaby, Ramsey. You know, I think back to Mane when he elbowed Tierney or something. I'm not saying Mane is a bad guy, but it seems like there's one rule for one and another for another. Man, you're not happy with it, Liam. Man saying Arteta waffle settings. The officiating in some of these games across the Premier League has been criminal. And it's not just us. Wolves should be vexed about a lot of moments. Liverpool should be vexed. What's Eddie doing? He's currently injured at this moment, allegedly, people. Well, in fact, let's not draw conclusions. He hasn't taken part in training. That could be cause for concern. It probably is cause for concern. But yeah, man, have we seen this tomorrow? Have we seen this already? Yeah, we have. That's Mikel Arteta's comments. Tommy Yasu has also spoken. People, he said, to play in the Champions League was my biggest dream, so I'm happy to play in it. I just want to play on the pitch as much as I can. We are really focused on tomorrow's game. We need to bounce back from Saturday's game. It's a massive opportunity for us to qualify for the next stage. It's a massive game for us, and we're trying to get 3 points against them. It gives us an opportunity to qualify, actually win a game this month as well, and take a bit of good momentum going into the Burnley game and end the international break on another high. It's not easy to play in the Champions League and Premier League, but we need to be fit and available as much as we can, because already we've lost some players with injuries. For me, I need to be fit and available as much as I can. He then went on to say, to be honest, I didn't train to be both-footed. When I was a kid, when I had the ball on my right foot, I played with my right foot. If it was on my left, I played with my left. Great teacher, whoever taught him. It's not easy, and my role changes each game, but the most important thing is how to behave on the pitch, how much you want to win the game, how much you want to beat your opponent. This doesn't change. My job is to give 100% on the pitch, and it doesn't matter which position I played in. Still can't believe that Ake offside goal stood, but it's just bare making up stuff. All these pundits are on the payroll. Their souls are gone. This weekend should be an eye-opener for everyone. I hear that. And I mean, I'd say, unfortunately, the powers that be are everything, man. You know, any sort of word there is to be against a marginalized group, 100%. Play Martinelli up front. He'll be able to link up with Saka and Odegaard more. I hear that. I wouldn't mind Martinelli up front, but I just think Martinelli, he's got the same thing Jesus has, in that he wants to get involved, but I don't think he'll, you know, as a striker, you need to know when to not get involved. I don't think Gabriel Martinelli currently learns that. But then could you reckon, you know what, could you just have the best of both worlds, really and truly, and that is Trossard and Martinelli, you know, obviously not every 10 minutes, but every 10 minutes, as we saw last season, Martinelli and Trossard, you lot switch, really, you know, whoever's looking better on the left, look better on the left, because I don't know, obviously, Sevilla probably know the status of our players being fit. But is that something? And then I'd imagine whether Kai Havertz plays as a 9 or plays in the 10. And to be fair, in his Arsenal career, again, the bar's on the floor. I'm not saying he's been amazing, but in terms of his 2 starts, it's probably been his best week. So maybe that's a way of Arteta doing it all. But then again, our bench is weak anyways. But if you play Trossard and Havertz, where you're looking at a Nelson there, there's not really much to be said. These pundits make me sick. They're all on the payroll, as was said earlier, man. There's no integrity. They don't want consistency. You got to remember, all of these high-ranking officials, club owners, all of them, really, of course, not everybody, but the majority of them are in the same social circles. They have the same access to everyone's number. Is it too far-fetched, especially Howard Webb, being a former referee? He's dinged in Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville and said, you know what, take it a bit easy on them. Because again, once you control the media, you control the narrative, really. Everybody's up in arms about VAR. Just looking this last week, everything's been lost in terms of, you know, it's become of how Mikel Arteta does or doesn't conduct himself. You know, it's nothing, the points have been lost. It's nothing to do about how Arsenal played or didn't play. It's nothing to do about refereeing anymore. It's just about Arteta's antics and his public enemy number one. You go and look at the Daily Mail, any article, any news platform, Arteta's public enemy number one. Everybody moans about VAR. Arteta does it, there's an issue. They want the drama to drive up engagement and traction, all about peas. And we know Arsenal, we pay people, we literally have, people are byproduct, people are employed at us, writing for Arsenal because of us. You know, if you say anything about Arsenal on social media, a bit like United, the fans are going to lap it up. Media's been compromised in every aspect of life and football mirrors society. They overturned the Caicedo goal, but allowed the one where Akanji literally jumps over the ball on the way in against Fulham. All I want is some consistency. You know, it's either the all goals or the not goals, but we're never going to get consistency. So it's one of them where, you know, the one thing we could have controlled in that game against Newcastle is probably fashioning some shots. Apart from that, all you can do is be the best you can be as a team. Sometimes I assume it's going to work for you. Sometimes it's going to go against you. Once again, Arsenal have produced a list of things they're unhappy about, people. We've gone over that. We've gone over that. Smith Rowe is likely to be out for a month because of a knee injury suffered against Sheffield United. Smith Rowe has been desperate for game time and minutes, so was keen to play on even after suffering the injury. Now, I would have thought with the inconsistencies around those that are fit that play in midfield and obviously the injuries, I thought Smith Rowe, this was, you know, you're looking like you're getting your groove back, you're getting your swagger back, you're getting a bit sharp. I would have thought, you know what, either in that vacant left-sided 8 role, or maybe, you know, if Odegaard was fit, Odegaard could go over there, or, you know, either, but long story short, either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of midfield. I thought Smith Rowe might be able to do a thing. If he's on the right, you link up with your Haaland boy Saka. and we're living really. I hope Smith Rowe gets back fit. You know, I mean, the one encouraging thing is that he was keen to play on, so maybe he's fit sooner rather than later. But really want Smith Rowe to kick on. It's a big season, man. You know, you're probably not going to get in the Euro squad. It's all about this Cole Palmer guy now. You know, obviously, are you in Arsenal's strongest 11 if everyone's fit? Probably not. You know, in terms of Arsenal in the summer, you know, and selling players, there's still unanswered questions around what we're going to do with Lokonga, Tavares. Don't want to throw him in there, but Tierney, Marquinhos. The club will make movements in that regards. Ramsdale could probably fetch a decent fee, and probably indirectly being an England international, doing what he did a few seasons ago and on the contract, Arsenal might say, you know what, Smith Rowe could be sold on really and truly. I think Ramsdale's going to Newcastle in the summer. I don't know why I believe that. I think Smith Rowe will move on. And I think the club will look to move on Thomas Partey just to shed the wages. You know, you look at the last few, you know, a number of players have signed new deals. It's a chance to free up his wages, essentially, and finally revamp our midfield. Not saying I necessarily want Thomas Partey to go, because you need that replacement in there. Caicedo got zanged, man, and what a good goal it was from him. You know what? Chelsea won at the end of the day, and, you know, I definitely want some consistency in how Spurs are reported versus us. But if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be happy we won and stuff. But bloody hell, man, like, even against 10, Spurs looked all right, and like it took you a while to break down those 9 players. I felt, not that I ever feel sorry for Spurs, but I think their keeper deserved a bit more. I think Ndogi showed his age. You know, he probably should have been sent off long before that. Inability to get his head checked. Romero just wants to join WWE. I'll be surprised if I don't see him with Vince McMahon and all them man there once his career's done. To be fair, once you won the World Cup, what is there? Keeping up the theme with Thomas Partey, allegedly is a major injury concern, John Cross has said, people, in an article, as he could potentially be out until the end of the year. Peak. Arsenal want Gabriel Jesus to miss Brazil's World Cup qualifiers against Colombia and Argentina after missing the last 3 games for the Gunners with a hamstring injury. I'm sure Jesus would want to play a part, but I mean, Argentina, World Cup winners, Argentina, Brazil, that's a derby. Colombia, that's a derby. These are physical games. Don't really want Jesus there if need be, people, if we can. But apparently we want him to miss those games, people. As you know, due to a minor hamstring injury, he's missed the last few games. Mikel Arteta learned his lesson from last year, hasn't been drawn on actually giving us a specific time as to when we can expect the Brazilian international to return. Apparently, he's now making pleasing progress, but playing against Sevilla on Wednesday or Burnley at the weekend would make it harder for Arsenal to justifiably argue that he would benefit from withdrawing from the Brazil squad. I mean, and they're obviously without Neymar and Paqueta as well, people. I would love him to be ruled out. You know, if you and Odegaard can just cool off for a sec and resume your Arsenal careers after the international break, I'm all for that, people. We'd had to obviously take a similar approach with Bukayo Saka last international break. Once again, we know Timber's out. We know Smith Rowe is out. And there's still concerns. The Daily Mail said that Partey could play again in 2023. I do think Arsenal are keeping their cards close to their chest in that regards. We were once upon a time linked with Marcus Edwards. Once again, he's been linked with Chelsea and his former club Spurs. Liverpool, Arsenal and Fulham have all been linked with Andre, the Fluminense midfielder, who currently has won the Copa Libertadores. Fulham allegedly are leading the race for him. Which you look at all the talk around Gakpo, where did he end up? You look around Mudryk, where did he end up? You know, I still think he goes to Liverpool, but maybe Fulham are that bit more hungrier than Arsenal and Liverpool to sign him. But according to this report, they say Fulham are the strongest candidates in England. Could he be replacing Paulinho or playing with him? Because he was linked with Bayern Munich to move for the midfielder who has been scouted for months. They report that the Fluminense star, who is also a frequent name in the Brazil squad, has been called up along with Douglas Luiz, who's also been linked with us, is a priority for Marcus Silva. So I have to see. Andre is the man they want, and they had thought they would face competition from Arsenal and Liverpool, but that does not appear to be the case, as they are looking at other options. The Gunners, for example, are said to want to sign Douglas Luiz from Villa. He's recently signed a new deal, and it's in January, and Villa are flying. You're going to have to probably pay more than what you'd reckon Douglas Luiz is worth. I don't know, anything can happen. You know, if where there's a will, there's a way, but it's kind of like the Pedro Neto thing. They're not going to let these players go mid-season unless you make an offer they can't turn down. So yeah, people. Allegedly, he's valued by Fluminense at 30 to 35 million euros or dollars, as he has a, I think that's that's actually euros, and he has a contract until December of 2026, people. So yeah, man, I'm sure they're gonna want decent money for him, people. Once again, in relation to Jesus, apparently out of a report from Brazil, it said, off topic, Celtic are getting smacked up by Atletico's under 19s. They're running riot in the youth league, people. It's on my TV. Do like this El Nino striker. He didn't bag, but yeah, staying on task. In the last squad, we hadn't called up Martinelli from Arsenal. He didn't report to the CPF in a very complete way, so we didn't imagine that Martinelli be ready to play against Venezuela and Uruguay, and he was ready to play before our games. Because of this too, we're going to bring Gabriel in to find out his real condition, because we still have 15 days to go until the games. So we believe he could be fit enough to play, because I like him a lot. We have 24 players on the list, and if anything happens to him, we won't need to change the squad. So maybe he wants him there for morale as well as anything, people. So we'll have to see. Once again, Arsenal consider transfer after Aston Villa star made feelings clear. Apparently, we're looking. This has been, one article. We're going for Douglas Luiz, so we're not on to Andre. This has flipped it and said we're monitoring Andre because of Douglas Luiz. People, let's see exactly what's been said. Obviously, he signed a new deal last year, which makes it very difficult. And the man himself said, "I'm so happy. I'm so happy in this club. I love the people here, the staff, the players. I'm so comfortable here, and I'm so happy." Because I love this club opened the door for me to come here to play in England in the Premier League. The club has given me the space, and I'm so happy because I'm staying here and my choice is here. I mean, it could be a bit PR-y, but who knows? We have been linked with Rowe Antwerp's young teenage midfielder Arthur Vermeer. Once again, people, in a January deal that could be worth 15 million. It seems like he's one of the names that are consistently floated about. I'm having him for what it's worth. I don't really care what Jamie Carragher has to say about Arsenal. Arsenal leave race for Liverpool target to pursue Aston Villa star, and apparently Juventus are still keen on Thomas Partey. Fair enough. Apparently Douglas Luiz is still on our radar, people. We know both Edu and Arteta are big fans of him, people. So yeah, and once again, Partey's been linked to Juventus, people, and he was linked in the summer. Partey's manager Arteta said, "I do want to keep him, but reports won't go away." I mean, can the man stay fit? Allegedly, according to Italian journalist Damasio, who said City would beat us to the signing of Declan Rice, apparently Juventus want to sign a midfielder with Fagoli and Pogba both suspended. And apparently Juventus's directors, two of them, had contacts and meetings with the Gunners to discuss the signing of Partey. I mean, that could just be to see the conditions, and Arsenal could have told them it, and they could have said, both parties could have told either one where the sun don't shine. But who knows, people? Big up yourself, Kay. It's a knee injury, so nothing to do with his previous recurring hip injuries. So hopefully he's over the injuries. I mean, it didn't say it's a hamstring, but I get the point. Time to lean into the narrative and turn into the nastiest football club on and off the pitch. We're not here to make friends. Amen. Super hypothetical, DG, but would you swap Smith Rowe, Vieira, and Lokonga for Wirtz? Smith Rowe loan, 100. Vieira, I'm sorry, I like you a lot. Lokonga, boy, don't take Lokonga off us. He's the next Yaya Toure, 100% if they were crazy enough. That Tottenham-Chelsea game was like watching Dumb and Dumber. I mean, Chelsea were horrible for the first 20 minutes. I thought Spurs could have put them in a blender in that, really. Shows why football's a crazy game. I'm still keeping my Smith Rowe stocks 2020/21 season. If we could have 12 players on the pitch, Smith Rowe was in. True. And to be fair with you right now, I'd say it's probably Trossard. Chelsea won the second best team in London. Congrats, winner gets a beating from Arsenal. I mean, we should have beat both them teams. Stupid points dropped. What happened to Uncle Partey at Atletico? He was ever present. I don't know, man. Maybe it's the London lifestyle. He's cashed out. I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems that he's always injured in training. I don't know if it's training, if it's games, if it's the rehab, if it's nutrition, if it's external factors. God knows, man. God knows. Why are we still looking at DM's whole squad is just 6s and 10s? How about some centre mids? I mean, they're all kind of the same. DG rate. I think you mean these English strikers in order: Tony, Sturridge, Welbeck, Vardy. Jamie Vardy for me, best of the lot. I did like Sturridge, so I'd say Vardy, Sturridge, Tony, and Danny Wells. But do you know what we could do with Welbeck in this squad? I can't lie, if I was honest with you. Don't know how true, but how are Juventus looking at Partey and thinking, yeah, we need some of that, man? Maybe, boy, they might not have the same lot. They might get the Atletico lot. Partey plus 20 million for Locatelli. Might as well just try to buy Locatelli properly outright. I feel Arsenal won't sign any player in January. Antonio, if we don't do that, we're playing a very dangerous game. If that is the case, he's got to be. Big up DG, but I keep telling y'all Eddie and Havertz, isn't it? Listen, I've been saying I'll always support Havertz and NKETIAH. Of course, I would like them, to be way down the pecking order and play a lot less and have better players, of course, respectfully to them. But I think they can play a part. But again, I agree with you. Of course, I want Bell, really and truly. I shouldn't be nervous, respectfully to Eddie, as much as I like him, about the absence of Eddie. Slightly even Jesus as well. But yeah, Ollie Watkins is a good striker, scored 5 PL goals. And Nketiah is a championship striker, scored 5 PL goals. Football fans are fickle sometimes. To be fair with you, with Ollie Watkins, his latest reports are saying he's getting 150 bags a week. So obviously, I'm sure he's got ambitions to play at a high level. But if Arsenal come knocking, we are one of those clubs in a humble way. You've got to listen. But arguably, you know, you're gonna have to, again, like Douglas Luiz, have to give Aston Villa something that you reckon Ollie Watkins isn't worth. If you commit to that, or him or Tony in January, then that rules out anything you could do in the summer in the striker department as well. So yeah, man, Watkins is a player that's been linked with us for years. You know, how many? Just a few years ago, it was him, Tammy Abraham, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and obviously Ollie Watkins out of the three has gone from strength to strength. It's been a bit of a mixed bag for the others, man. So it is what it is in that regards, people. But yeah, man, we've covered everything. Unfortunately, this is gonna have to be a slower show than usual, purely because I'm going live at 5:30 because kickoff is 5:45. We'll be watching Dortmund Newcastle together. After that, we're watching AC Milan Paris Saint-Germain, folks. And then tomorrow is obviously Arsenal versus Sevilla. So make sure you got your notification bells on. Make sure you're checking out the rest of the content, because I'm sure 2 other videos came out. Appreciative as usual to all of you lot tuned in for your talking points, whether you're actually commenting or being a silent listener, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch. One love. Last question. Do you think we'll actually make any signings in Jan? I believe so, purely because centre mid's too weak. I know the talk will, obviously, in the last couple of days, weeks, it's now focused to putting centre midfield at the forefront. But I do believe, you know, a striker and a winger, obviously, if you could get kind of like the Trossard kind of signings, then probably. But I reckon the centre mid is probably more attainable. I think it might be another January where, you know, you get the Kirill, the Trossard, the Jorginho kind of types, whether they're players that have feet out the door or they're cut price moves, really and truly. I think, if anything, the summer's the time for us to buy a striker. But again, if we could buy a striker, a winger, and a centre mid, or 2 of the 3 at least, with one being centre mid regardless, we'd be really cooking, man. I like Makoko, to be fair with you, but he's still a young player, and I don't know if you're ready to take the mantelpiece, but it's not really nice comparing him to that guy. But yeah, on that note, but big up Eddie. But yeah, on that note, people, I'll catch you lot in actually just under an hour, really and truly. A couple of moments, people. So yeah, man, stay blessed, stay safe. Check out the rest of the content. One love.
There's always that
Active and defenders.
I've been given like